Brother Curtis just said his expectation is the expectation of God, and God will do what you expect him to do. Now, I got a boatload of expectations. I'm expecting him to do that. If God said that because of his power that reside in us, and I want to let you know over the years, he has not disappointed. He has not disappointed. So he's going to your people. He's going to heal you. That's your expectation. That's your faith. And we saw he healed. That when the pastors pray and they'll get on their knees, and I knew which deacon was going to raise his hand and slap the chair when he prayed. And I'll raise my hand and slap it when he did it. Because I was familiar. I knew how church operated. Okay? And the problem with that is when we get that familiar, we get apathetic. It becomes boring. Then our service become mediocre. Thank you. And then as we get older, we become disconnected, and then we're passive about our service. And so when those things set in, we don't set our faith and obedience to have an expectation of God when we arrive. So we just show up. And Brother Curtis, we stink when we came in and we stink when we leave. Is stink not the right word? No, Aisha was like, I can't believe he said that. Oh yeah, that was a Saturday word. Maisha gave me a word that she's right. I should have said the word, but that's a Saturday word. Yeah, Mother Bush, is it stink okay? Okay, I'm good. So when we got to set our spirits, we got to set our faith, we got to set our obedience to expect that God will meet us at our spiritual need and our physical need. So Paul called to the man who was ill, the lame man, called him out and told him to stand up, and the man jumped to his feet and started walking. When the crowd saw what Paul had done, they shouted out in their local dialect, "These men are gods in human form." When the beggar jumps up and walks, something unexpected happens. Seeing the healed beggar, the crowd shouts out in their own language, "The gods have come down to us in human form." Barnabas is called Zeus, and Paul is thought to be Hermes because he is the main speaker. Hermes is called the messenger of Zeus and the patron of orators. So Paul did the talking. That's why they identified him with Hermes, because Hermes did the talking. Okay, these are some of the gods, the Greek gods that they recognized and knew of, and so Barnabas was called Zeus. Here's what we got to get: when there are things of God that we don't understand, we will give it the understanding that we have. Right? In Acts chapter 2. It says that the Holy Spirit came upon the people, and they began to speak with foreign tongues. They began to speak languages of the other people. And here's the people who did not understand. Here's their explanation. They said they must be drunk. They must be drunk. Peter had to say, no, it's early in the morning. They're not drunk. That's Holy Spirit. Well, here in Acts chapter 14 in Lystra, where they're familiar with, and they know they must be gods, because that's Zeus and that's Hermes, right? Okay, y'all not following me on that. In the Old Testament, when Moses went to Pharaoh and say, God, Yahweh told me to tell you to let my people go, and he has given me power in this staff, and he performed a miracle. What did they do? They went to what they knew. He said, give me a magician. Come here. And so, see, they can do what you do, so what you do must be what they do. Whenever there's a movement of God, we have to have the spiritual courage and knowledge to say it is God that's doing the moving, instead of trying to interpret it in a natural state that we can explain it. The miracle merely attracted, get this, the miracle of the man being healed merely attracted attention. And in a way, it was unwanted attention. The miracle itself didn't save anybody. Did we get that? He was healed, but his healing didn't save anybody. That's why the preaching has to go first. That's why Paul them had to complete the task. Their task was to preach the gospel and share the message of grace so salvation can go forth. Then the power of God through healing was manifested. Because if people knew that on Sunday mornings, every church was just having healing services and everybody was healed when they walked through the door, they would come in, get their healing, and say nothing to Jesus. Yeah. I got my healing. And this is what will make it worse, Dr. Bishop. They'll come get their healing. Then they'll go out and do whatever it is that got them sick. Then they'll be back the next time just to get that same healing without coming and... Verse 12. Okay. They decided that Barnabas was the Greek god Zeus and Paul was Hermes. Verse 13. Now the temple of Zeus was located just outside the town. So the priests of the temple and the crowd brought bulls and wreaths, flowers to the town gates, and they prepared to offer sacrifices to the apostles. The people merely continued their way of life by worshiping humanity as a form of God instead of worshiping God for what he does through humanity and for humanity. There's a shift. Pastor Maisha says she comes so she can see the presence of God in the people of God. Okay, when we are at our very best, that's when all of our natural selves has decreased and all of our supernatural self in the presence of God has filled us.